Howdy y'all, I am Ice Gold, and I actually found out why I'm freezing every second, and it's because my SSD is at apparently 10% health left, so that's really sick. I probably can't get another one for a couple weeks at least, but you know, if I randomly just quit uploading for a while, that is going to be why. I'm gonna keep trying to post just as much as I can, but you know, if my computer no worky, then no content, and that sucks. But yeah, anyway, so I did want to, however, talk about something kind of like a string of good decisions that the devs have made just over the years. You know, I am often critical of the King's Isle developers in just on this channel, just in general, because there is a lot to criticize. But for this, I want to just sort of commend them, because I mean, I've played this game for a while, and I have seen just so many updates come and go. And in these updates, back when like I was still playing PvP, back when that was still good, that was when the Catacombs was sort of just at their peak, and you know, that farming Catacombs has got to be one of the most draining experiences that anybody could ever put themselves through. And I was like front and center for that. I wonder if I still have... I bet I do. I bet I still have my Dragoon theme that I crafted back then. Because, listen, like, during that year when the Catacombs had come out, everybody, like, anytime double reagents would get run, every single person and their dog would just roll through and farm for alchemical extract, because what you needed was 480 alchemical extract, 180 to craft the Vanguard set that you could also get dropped, but if memory serves, the Vanguard Athame dropped from... What did it drop from? I think the Athames dropped from the Renegade Druid. And if you've ever tried to fight the Renegade Druid, you have known pain, and I'm sorry to hear that. And so, just like, I mean, it has been... That era was painful. And the devs have, ever since, gone on a pretty decent streak, you know, because we went from having to spend 480 alchemical extract, 180, like I said, to craft the Vanguard piece, and then another 300 to craft the Dragoon piece. And of course, there were also alchemical salts. I bet I still have the recipe. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. No, I don't think it would be on my Storm. It would be on my Ice, but basically, you would need, if memory serves, you would need something like, you would need 300 extracts, and then 50 salts, and then 10 crystals, I think. And crystals weren't too hard, because most everybody would farm King Detritus, and that would be a very easy way to get crystals. Just, I bet I still have a ton, like alchemical crystals. Maybe not like on my character, but just sort of scattered throughout, because really and truly, that era of farming was horrendous. And this also was when, you know, the Darkmoor gear was also still decent, and, you know, people would still farm for that. Of course, people do still farm for that, and they know just sort of how that experience is. And, I mean, it's... Yeah, but in recent memory, and the reason why we're in Wallaroo for today's video is because I'm really happy that the devs have made better pity systems over the years. They initially started this by, I think it was in Caramel, where you could craft the Tier 1 set, and of course... I mean, okay, so this also started in Imperia Part 2. Imperia Part 2, you could craft the Paradox set, I think, from some vendor in like Nimbus Citadel or whatever. But you could craft the set, and that would just be that. You could craft the equivalent to the Paradox set, and that is a trend that has continued. But it got easier as time went on. And eventually it did culminate with Novus. Novus farming is still hell because you would need 9 masterpiece pieces in order to craft 1 Eon piece. And that was a whole thing. And of course, the polygons and pixels and all that. It's like that was a whole farm ordeal type thing. And that was... In my opinion, it was still better than just throwing yourself at like the chest in Darkmoor, for example, and just praying. But ultimately speaking, I think that Novus was a step up from that, but it was still not good. And of course, everybody was sort of all over, Novus farming and and whatnot, and how bad that was. But then in Wallaroo, they finally made a system that I was really, really happy with. And basically, everybody who has Max Wizard is aware at this point, I'm sure. But, it came a time when Wallaroo dropped, of course, you could craft these pieces of gear and not actually have to get all of the, the Dream Warper pieces. You could just craft the Reaver pieces straight out. Like, if I wanted to make the Myth a Thame, rather than farming Invader fleets for 9 Warper knives, I could instead just spend 47 Dream Water and 8 Dream Stone. Not too terrible a farm, although the Dream Water is rather slow, but even still, it is consistent if you farm Freddy Croaker. And all you would need is a badge. In this case, defeated the whole Spiral, just because, that's the boss that drops these. So you just defeat the Invader fleets 15 times. That's also tedious, especially to do on 7 characters, but once it's done, and you'll get plenty of Dream Water along the way, but once that's done, you definitely you can just craft these straight up. And I remember, because on my Myth, I have the Malus Rexus badge. I don't plan on getting that ever again because of how hell the Nightmare is, but I got Malus Rexus on 1 character. That was all that I needed to, because I could just craft all of these pieces of gear just sort of as I pleased. And yeah, I mean, that's what I did, It's like I have the Reaver hats and the Reaver boots on all 7 schools because, I did all the Dream Water farming and whatnot, and, I just did that on my Myth. And that, I think, made things way easier, because I can't imagine having to farm the Nightmare for all of my gear and have probably a really hard time getting it as well, just because, it's I just can't imagine that. It would be such hell trying to do the Nightmare dungeon on all 7 schools, and I don't even think that I would have gotten there. I think genuinely we would have gotten to Selenopolis and I would have farmed the Avatar set instead of the Dream Reaver set from the Nightmare. But because I only needed to get the badge 1 time on 1 character, then that was what I did, and that made getting gear, the max gear set, much easier, much less painful. And I'm really happy that the devs did that, and I'm happy that the devs continue to do that. In Selenopolis, we got something similar, and of course, there's still badges for all of that, and I bet they're going to be under Crocotopia badges, but yeah, if you defeat the Loon Knight 10 times, you can craft the boots and the decks and whatnot, because I think that's what the Loon Knight drops. So, defeat the Loon Knight 10 times, you can craft that. Khonsu 30 is excessive, but at the same time, you can go in there with a team of 4, and the polymorph phase is very, very quick, and after you finish that, it's easy. You just blade a couple times and send a hit, and then you're good. Things like the taking tree for your wands. It's like you could get those too, and amulets as well. But yeah, just overall, just tying being able to craft gear to these badges, I think was way better, and way better than Novus. because with Novus, like I mentioned, you needed so much extra gear. And oftentimes, and this was something that I ran into a bunch, it's like I could be going for those 9 masterpiece pieces. Like, say for example, I wanted to craft the Eon hat for my life wizard, for example. If I was getting, you know, a bunch of masterpiece hats, like say for example I had 7, but then at the same time I would have just like, I don't know, 2 fire Eon hats, I might have 2 ice Eon hats, maybe 3 myth Eon hats. It's like I would have all of these extra hats that I could not use to craft the to craft the life hat that I wanted. It's like I still have, or no, I probably fed it to my pet, but it was floating around in my backpack for a long time, this extra fractal Eon helm, because it was just something that I had. It's like I got that hat like going for another one. And so now that that is a thing of the past, you know, it's like grinding the badges on all 7 schools is going to be tough. And the reason why you do have to grind the badges on all 7 schools, except Malus Rexus, of course, because Malus Rexus is only tied to the hats, the robes, the boots, and the wands. But the pins, honestly, like the power pins, you probably won't need much more of if you already have like defeated the whole spiral. I think that is the one that you need for the power pins. But sword pins, I imagine you'll need to level up and get the new badge in Darkmoor whenever that is. And then the resist and blocking pins and the mending pins and all that, I imagine those probably, well, okay, the storm mending pin might go up in value. Like the mending pins may go up in value, so life and storm are gonna get some use out of that. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, it's like this is sort of, you do need the school specific ones, like the school specific pins if you're doing that. And at that point, yeah, you would need to craft, or at least get the badges. It's the same with these jewels. It's like you would need, I think you have to beat Mr. Montgomery to craft the square jewels. These are very, very good. The triangle jewels, you know, you can sort of just get from wherever. Circle jewels, I know, is from Freddy. These, just like important. But yeah, I mean, overall, just the fact that the devs made that at least more streamlined and much easier, I think deserves to be commended. And, you know, I have talked about on this channel before, like I have talked about how this new pity system is a good thing, and I'm glad that they're doing it going forward, but always good to just sort of recognize the devs for the good work that they do with that. So, yeah, I mean, overall, just glad that this is a thing, glad that they have stepped in the right direction, because I have seen the wrong direction in a million different ways, and it has been terrible. So let me just, let me actually get on my ice, and then I can head to the catacombs, because let me, before I end off the video, I have to show this to y'all, because I know that some of y'all either started playing or came back after the catacombs, and that's fair, you know, just, you know, but, okay, wooden chest, I have to get my retriever. They didn't make farming spell elements any easier, I will say that. They could stand to do a bit of that, but, yeah, if we go back to Wizard City, boy PK Hacker set up a teleporter straight there, more or less, so we will just use the social tab. Come on, SSD, you can hold it together for, you know, like another 2 weeks, something like that, because that's when I go back home for my birthday. My birthday is actually in 3 weeks, but I'm going to be in my college town on the day of. Don't worry about what I'm doing then. But, you know, so I have to show y'all this just for the one time, because if you played back in 2019, 2020, it's like, you know what I'm about to show you. But for those who have been fortunate enough to either not play or have been fortunate enough to memory hole this whole experience, let me just show you Zasha Emberforge over here, because it has been terrible. I have known pain, and it comes in the form of Dragoon farming. Look at this. To make, okay, because the Dragoon boots, right, this was best in slot, and of course I already own all of these recipes because of just how aggressive it was. But like the Dragoon's Balance boots, you would need a pair of Vanguard boots. Fortunately, these could be any Vanguard piece back in the day. I don't know if that's still the case. I know that they changed that up recently, I want to say, but I don't know. I could be wrong. But yeah, Dragoon's or Vanguard's boots, and these would drop from Prince Vigor, but you know, good luck with that. That's why I own a lot of these Vanguard boot recipes. But yeah, it's like the Dragoon boots, you would need one pair of Vanguard boots, and then you would need 300 of these, 50 salts, and then it's 5 crystals, not 10. And 5 crystals, as you can see, very, very easy. That was by far the easiest part of all of this. This was the rarest reagent, and it only dropped from the bosses. So, I mean, there were people that farmed like Satharilith for these, because that was the easiest farm, but then, you know, Detritus drops them often enough, and of course with double reagents and all that, it was a thing. And honestly, if memory serves, they didn't run double reagents very often back during that time, but they do now, so I'm happy about that. But anyway, yeah, but you needed so much of this. And during double reagents, by the way, I still have this drilled into my brain. One run of King Detritus would get you 17 extracts with double reagents, 10 without. So if you were doing this without double reagents, you were looking at 30 runs plus getting the salts that you needed, because oftentimes you didn't get enough salts from King Detritus. You would have to go into Vigor's tomb over there to get salts. That was the best salt farm. But yeah, I mean, just getting all that, I mean, it was a thing, you know. And wow, I like, hats off to the devs for finally getting rid of that in Wallaroo. And yeah, I mean, I'm real happy with it. I'm really glad that, you know, the devs have sort of wised up and fixed this, especially going forward, and gear is much, much easier to get these days. So, gotta love it. Big shout out to the devs for that. Thank y'all for watching. I've been Ice Gold. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you want to chat with me some more, and I will see y'all later.